Well, welcome to a new Harry's Garage video, and as you can see behind me, the Shad is back after about 6 months of sort of work on its paintwork and a few other bits I'll go into in a moment. It is back basically and ready to go, and look how shiny it looks. This car has been transformed over the last 6 months, and I started with just to tidy up the rust, sort of those elements on the sills you'll know. And then we saw how good it actually was underneath. So we've done a little bit more work, and it's been further enhanced by Richard Tipper Perfection. You've probably seen on the channel before. Richard came up a few days ago and gave it the final polish to make it sparkle like it does in the garage now. And if you're wondering why I'm all sort of suited and booted, it's because actually in a few hours time, I'm at a dinner at the RAC Club in Pall Mall in central London. And what car to take in if I'm going to travel by car? Well, why not take the Rolls Royce Silver Shadow as its inaugural journey after this sort of restoration work. It just seems the perfect journey for it. Before we have a closer look, I just want to go through some of the fun things in this magazine. You're wondering why I'm holding it. It's a November 16th, 1968 copy of Motor. And I've got it because that is when they road tested the then new Rolls Royce Silver Shadow. And their summary is silent and sumptuous, high performance with unrivaled quietness, very roomy within, reasonably compact, superbly finished, but not flawless. And it's just worth discussing the price of this car. On this road test, the car they tested was £7,790. Air conditioning was £185 extra. My car hasn't actually got air conditioning. But to put that £7,790 into perspective, were you to order a new Aston Martin DB6 Volante, well, that would have cost you £5,062, so £2,000 less than a Rolls Royce Silver Shadow. It takes some thinking of the values, relative values now are separated by hundreds of thousands, if not a million. I don't know exactly what a DB6 Volante is. I love this road test. They did it over 2,000 miles. And they've sort of got this chap in a bowler hat just approaching the car in that photograph. And then you see him in the middle seat in the back, showing how much room there is in this car. Performance is 0 to 60 is 10.8 seconds for this. And then they show how much you can get in the boot with various boxes. All sorts of lovely details on this, but they make a big thing about it's just silent travel and how you've no idea what the engine is doing. You just can't hear it. But there is a bit of road roar and a few other issues with it. The bit I can't get over about, when I say this is a great car to take to London, it is quite compact, as they say. It's 1.8 metres wide. That is 400 mil, 40 centimetres narrower than a Range Rover or something like that. Almost big cars. It is surprisingly narrow, and its other star quality is turning circle. They tested it, they test left and right when they do the steering, and it's 35 foot. Now 35 foot in metres is 10.5 metres or thereabouts. So less than that four-wheel steer I was discussing on that new Range Rover, less than a current Mini, which is about 10.95. So it has a remarkable turning circle. Anyway, let's go and have a closer look, and I'll take you through the details of a Mark 1, Mark 2 Silver Shadow. Now, this particular Silver Shadow was first registered in first week of January 1970. So it was built in 1969, and I love the purity of these very early Silver Shadows. So you get the chrome bumpers on the Mark 1, but I also get this little vent here, which is a fresh air vent that goes down into the footwell of the driver and the passenger side. But I don't know, there's just a purity to the design. If you had a Mark II Silver Shadow, they had a sort of rubber black bumper, impact bumper, and a little spoiler underneath. But this being Mark I, just has this chrome look, overdose of chrome. The other unusual feature on this car, being a 1970 car, 1969 car, is you get this little light here. They soon changed to reflectors, but when I put this car on main beam, I have that light comes on, and then there's another one at the back as well. But when I got the car, I sort of, as you know, bought it on eBay, £4,100, and just presumed it would have famous engine, the 6 3/4 litre V8. When I looked at the logbook, it wasn't a 6 3/4 litre V8, it was a 6 1/4 litre V8, 500cc less. And the earlier Silver Shadows had a slightly smaller engine. And actually, initially, I was gutted. Oh, missed out. And I thought, oh, it'd be slower. Why do they increase the engine? Well, they increased the engine size because they basically made air conditioning standard, and they had to put some emission kit on the engine, and they lost a fair bit of horsepower by doing that. So to get around that, they upped the CC. Having driven both, the big surprise is the 6.25 feels more lively. And I drove Mark II Silver Shadow the other day. It's got nothing on this, and just get up and go away from the traffic lights. So a big surprise. Yes, the moose has moved down here. We used to have those on the C-pillar, but part of the restoration, noticed that DEW Car Services, who did all the work on this car, had car in. They have this lovely Rolls Royce badge here. Again, it was optional. And I thought it just added something to the car. And because we painted up the C-pillar here during the respray, we needed a moose to show this is the Arctic Rolls. So we've done it like a shield on a Ferrari there. I've also kept the snow tires on it, again, because of what this car, its history, past history, etc. But look at it. I'm just so chuffed. There are some things that we just, on the snag list, need to do. One, we lost the jacking point. So this wasn't actually painted. I'll get that painted so it matches better. That's the jacking point under there. It's a little flap down, bit that flaps down. And also, we weren't going to, I think I explained in the previous video, we weren't going to paint the door tops. I've got this corrosion here. I am now, because it is so much better than I ever expected, I'm just going to quickly do the door tops as well, so it all matches in. And also, I think I'll just show you in the back of this car, because they're just gorgeous seats. Just some of the details here before we get in. Look at this woodwork on here, sort of inlay there, different wood on top, and just the use of leather here, and a little floodlight here, 1970. I can put that in, there's a cigarette lighter there, big ashtray. There's 3 cigarette lighters in this car. And if you get in, well, it is the most comfortable car to sit in. The backrest is sort of angled further back than on most cars you get into, so you instantly relax, and you just see this vastness of these seats. Just the upholstery and the amount of springing in the seats is extraordinary in this car compared to what we expect now on modern cars. You also get a little mirror here and a little light just to check before you exit the car. Oh, another thing I just wanted to show you. Yeah, the performance of the engine, it has quite a high compression ratio, 9:1 compression ratio. And if you fill this up, look at the octane rating required, 100 octane fuel, please. That's the old 5-star. So even super unleaded, it would like a higher octane rating than the 98, 99 of today's super unleaded. During the respray, what they actually did, they only painted up to here. So the boot lid, roof and bonnet haven't actually been painted. So Richard Tipper very kindly sort of machined this so it was a better match. These lights are so harsh, but I think it's a pretty good match. And we look at the back, the other thing, I also replaced the sort of chrome outriders. I think this is original. That definitely is. But yeah, I'm so grateful to Smart Repair Shop in Witney for doing the paintwork on this car, and then Danny at DEW Car Services pushing it all together. Just think it looks terrific. And I've always liked white Rolls Royce, which again, I'll explain on the journey down. So basically what I'm going to do now, quickly dash down to the house, chuck some bags in it, and then I've done a tweak to the chassis I want to explain when we're out. So I'm going to go up my favourite bit of road before heading into London and into central London, as you'll see. I just think this car looks so good in London traffic. One of the best features on this Silver Shadow is the vastness of the boot. It is just ridiculous. It's a big black hole, probably you can't see on the camera. If I put that bag right at the back, that sort of gives you a sort of sense of scale on this. I can put that bag in there. There's my suit bag. Well, that can sort of lay quite nicely there, and that bag can go somewhere there. Just ridiculous. You get several outboards in the boot of a Silver Shadow rather than just the one like we did in the Testarossa. Right, I'm just starting this video on a different bit of road. I never test going down this bit of road because this is the most evil bit of tarmac I know around here. It is just the roughest tarmac. If I cycle along here, I have to get out the saddle. I can't sit in a saddle. It's a horrendous bit of road. But I'm in a Rolls Royce Silver Shadow and it just absorbs it. So just irrelevant what's going on underneath. I cannot get over the ride quality. It's always good, Rolls Royce, but the dampers previous to this makeover were a bit worn, to say the least. In fact, Silver Shadow standard dampers are pretty useless. So I mentioned in the garage I'd done a bit of extra work. What I actually had done was I had a set of Bilstein dampers fitted all round, which is, they form part of the Harvey Bailey handling kit, which was a bit of a thing on Silver Shadows. It makes a dramatic difference, but the biggest, they did anti-roll bars and things like that as well, but it was the damping that was so much better with the Bilsteins, as I've just demonstrated there. It is just extraordinary, the body control and the damping. And DW Car Services put it in, Danny put it in, the gang down there. When you see the Rolls Royce Silver Shadow suspension setup, it is gobsmacking. I have never seen coil springs that big. They are 2 foot long, I suppose. It must be. 18 inches, 2 foot long. I don't know. Huge travel. And at the front, they have the wishbone working from the centre of the car to have ultimate wheel control and the wheel travel. It must rival a Range Rover, the amount of wheel travel there is on a Silver Shadow. But you need good damping control. It's not only about lots of spring, you want damping control so it doesn't all go out of control. And that's what this has now got with its new Bilstein dampers all round. Yeah, now this is my noisy bit of road, but I have a suspicion I don't really have to shout in this car because it's quiet. It's not uber quiet. I think I measured it at 72 decibels, but it's calming, shall we say. It's fine along here. The other thing that strikes you immediately you get in was the steering. It feels disconnected. It feels like an arcade game. There is no connection between the front wheels and this steering wheel. No, none whatsoever. You sort of grip it as though you feel you should at 10 to 2. There's no need. It could have a tiller, really. You sort of nudge it in the direction you want to travel, and everything's very good. And that's basically how you pilot a Silver Shadow, with your elbows on the armrest and you waft along. No idea what revs the engine are doing. Who needs a rev counter? It's just adequate power, as they used to say back in the day. Now here's another little test route I normally avoid because there's speed bumps down here and they sort of get in the way when you're talking about a car. And they're those sort of bumps in the road that you can straddle. I can go across the speed bump like that and obviously have no effect, don't know it's there. Or in a Rolls Royce you don't actually have to avoid the speed bumps, you can sort of hit them. So I'm going to hit them with the left side of the car now. So I'm going to hit it straight on. I'm doing 30 miles an hour. Dismisses it. One more up, just coming up. Oh, it's a speed bump. Oh, I forgot to slow down. Right, I think I can do it on the driver's side. So for full impact, full effect, here we go. Oh, yes. They would have to do something about speed bumps is everybody drove around in Silver Shadows, because basically they don't exist. We're just coming into London now. This is Hanger Lane. I'm looking to see how much warning you get for ULEZ, ultra low emission zone, which is beyond Hanger Lane. There was one small number plate size sign on a big traffic sign back there, but that so far is it. Hey, there it is, ULEZ on the sign there, from 25th of October. You think you'd get a bit more warning about what it means. Here we go, ultra low emission zone, ULEZ. Yeah. And now I'm trapped. Yeah, so there you go, 200 yards, it starts. weirdly, in London, ultra low emission zone doesn't actually concern me driving the Rolls Royce in, because it's a historic vehicle. It's over 40 years old, and they've done a dispensation to drive into London in historic cars. You just cruise down the motorway in this thing. It's one of those cars, it's hard to know what speed you're doing. You need to look at the speedo a lot, because there's no engine sound. There's a bit more rustle from the windows, but 40, 50, 60, 70 all sort of feel the same. There's no engine sound, you just sort of float along. It's all very relaxing. It's been a while since I've driven in London. It's something you don't do anymore. I mean, lockdown hasn't helped, but since I was last here, it does seem as though the cyclist has taken over. It's quite hard to get to where I want to be. It's normally 2 lanes and suddenly it's 1 lane. What I'm doing, I just want to go into Hyde Park. I'm not sure if you can still do that, and I'm going to loop onto Park Lane. It's a very beautiful part of London. But there's a rapid charge point for electric vehicles over there. One car there, another car behind queuing. I think that is going to be the dilemma with these rapid charge points in London. It's only 1 car at a time. That's why I think they've got to do something about the range. People discuss, converting classics to electric, and this Rolls Royce would be a potential to do. The dilemma I find is it's quite a big car, big frontal area. It's going to take a lot of energy to move it, and right now adding a ton of battery to it, an electric motor, I just doesn't feel right. It feels like built-in obsolescence, because the technology is improving. I just don't think the technology now is good enough. But it's something I'll be looking at. Or maybe we're all going to go to hydrogen. And then you think, what did I chuck that perfectly good engine away and gone to hydrogen? So yeah, we've got a lot of thinking to do at the moment. I think the engineers will get us out of this rather than politicians. Well, that's another story for another day. Park Lane. Shad's on Park Lane. God, there's a lot of roadworks, changes. I love those gates there. Queen River gates. Lovely. "20-mile-an-hour zone." God dear. When I was a lot younger than I am now, this was good fun to be had on Park Lane. It was basically a bit of a drag strip. 20 miles an hour. Can't believe it. Anyway, we're turning right here. It's the Dorchester just ahead, over there. But we're not going there. We're going somewhere much nicer. Just feel it's the right sort of place for a 1970 Rolls Royce. He didn't look, did he? That's how quiet a Rolls Royce is, though. Very special part of London. Here we are, just coming into Berkeley Square. But of course there's a gold smart car. Oh, this is quite a famous car. If you look at the registration on that, that's one of the most expensive registrations there is in the UK. B1, only A1 beats it. I would guess at £500,000 for that registration. And this is where you used to be able to buy new Rolls Royce, which is over there. Jack Barclay. Annabelle's on the left. Private car park I use down here, been using it for years, hidden away. It's not the cheapest, but it's very convenient, and we're going to park up now for, I think it's, well, we're in London for 3 days, so And there's quite a few other Rolls Royces in this car park, so it'll feel at home in this car park. Well, there we are, the inaugural trip in the sort of part restored Rolls Royce Silver Shadow 1970 edition, my Arctic Rolls. I mean, that was a very painless journey into London. It does suit London, this car. So elegant. And if you see it in the car park like this, you then see how narrow it is, and you know, tight spots, doing tight turns. That's the big surprise of this car. And white, I'm often asked why I have a white Rolls Royce. Well, back my very first job, well, I was still at school, just done my A-levels, took a job on a farm, and a lovely gentleman, Mr. Tyson, who owned Tyson Construction, which was a major operator in the Liverpool area when I was growing up. I worked on his farm over on the Wirral, and he had a white Rolls Royce, and every evening he used to drop by the farm in this very, very similar car to this. I just thought it was the most glamorous, most wonderful vehicle I'd ever seen. My dad had a Citroen Diane 6, I think, at the time. So that set it going, and then George Best also very famously had a white Rolls Royce, just the same as this, same vintage, and that was equally glamorous. So with this boss and George Best having a white Rolls Royce, I always promised myself one day to own one, and here it is. That's our trip. We're here. I'm off to a dinner very shortly. I hope you enjoyed this video. Slightly different from normal Harry's Garage videos, but if you have, keep watching, keep subscribing. More videos coming along very soon.